Bon, thank you all the students who joined us. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Oh, Zoe just joined us as well. Something is happening we're unsure about, but we really thank you for joining the last Inspire Students of 2020. Thank you for the ones as well. Today's panel on sustainability and entrepreneurship. And as always, Inspire Students is a collaboration with Career Services and the Professional Development Committee. And we have Alizé here who's going to be moderating the panel. I'll quickly introduce our panelists who will be joining us shortly as the technical difficulties let them. We have Benjamin Le Philibert, who did the MIA program in 2005 or akin to the MIA program. He's the founder and managing director of Light Blue Environmental Consulting, which is a social enterprise that works on food waste across Asia and Europe with hotel groups, government agencies, international organizations. And he's also an international speaker, a guest lecturer in culinary and business schools, and has worked on certifications and benchmarking systems. We also have Erika Materole, who did her MDiv program and graduated in 2017. Hopefully she'll be joining us shortly. And she's the lead for social innovation and communities of practice at Impact Hub Lausanne, and also the lead of the Sustainable Innovation Lab at Impact Hub Geneva. And she works on waste and circular economy, social impact, and on a professional development program. We also have Jeanne van Sagesser, who did a program akin to MIA and graduated in 2008. She's the founder and designer of Ape Signed, a Swiss-Vietnamese conscious and slow fashion label that promotes handmade and tailor-made creations with upcycled fabrics. She also has experience in communications and marketing for large firms, and also works for Fashion Revolution and is the head of the Romandie region. Last but not least, we have Zoe Falquier, who graduated from MIL in 2013. Currently the sustainability lead at International Petroleum Corporation, where she leads the company's sustainability and climate strategy. She has a lot of experience in the oil and gas sector for the past 8 years in the field of sustainability. Thank you so much that everyone is finally here. We've done it, and I can see a lot of attendees have also joined. So I'm going to give the floor to Alizé to take the panel ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Zaninka. Thank you to all the students for joining us, and thank you for the incredible panelists. I'm super happy that everybody was able to join in spite of the technical difficulties. So I would like to start with the first question that might be, I think a little bit of an unusual question, but is worth thinking about in this world of uncertainty. Because yes, a lot of questions are happening right now with regards to climate change and the state of the world. This generates some feelings that go from sometimes can be quite negative, despair, pessimism. So the first question to you panelists would be, well, can you share with us what drives your motivation to actually fight for a more sustainable world? And well, any recommendation for students willing to start a career in this field in this current context? So I would like to invite you to answer maybe one by one. And if we could start with Benjamin.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes,
well
we can
now?
hear you perfectly. Yes.
You cannot see me, I guess, so it's all right. Yes, so thank you very much for the invitation and for that very important question. Well, I guess what drives me personally, well, first I'm pretty optimist guy. What drives me in particular those days is well, youth, the you know, the young, fresh and sharp generation that doesn't accept the I would say the diktat or the models that have been pushed on us by previous generations. I think we are actually kind of paying for the mistakes from our parents, and and the this kind of drive that I can see from the younger generation, that anything is challengeable, and that's a bit what as well brought me to where I am. I mean, to what I'm doing now is to not accept everything as this is something that you can't influence or change. It's just to you need to understand it, and then realize that you have some lever that you can actually do something about it. In my specific context, working on the issue of food waste, what drives me is the dramatic situation related to food waste, the environmental impact, but the absurd consequences as well of food waste on a social perspective, coupled with the growing numbers of people that are actually malnourished or that can't access quality foods, even though we are in 2020. And it's just to look at the system, understand where are the pitfalls, and realizing that it's just a question of decision, of choosing that you can do something about it. And if you put your effort in the right at the right level, at your own level as well, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be the head of a top international multinational to have an influence. Then things can change. So I would say that's my motivation.
Wonderful and very positive. So yes, empowering as well. We have the power to change. So thank you. We will get back to your current activity as well with the next questions. Thanks for your sharing with us your thoughts. Well, the next person, Erika.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, okay, great. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much to Alize and Zaninka and Karine for having invited me here. Really glad to be sharing this moment with you. For me, the answer of what drives me, it goes in the same direction as Benjamin. For me, my kind of premise for living is you are the creator of your own reality. So we really have the choice and the power to create what we want to see in this world. I believe that if we are finding ourselves currently in a very challenging situation with multiple interrelated crises everywhere we look, it's because at some point we as humans, as the human community, we thought that those ways of doing, those ways of producing and consuming was what was best. You know, there was a reason why these systems were developed at one point. You know, if you look at their historical perspective, everything, you know, nothing happens by chance. Everything is the result of a series of decisions that are made. And they're made because at that point it was what made the most sense and what was needed. Now we have come to a greater level of awareness. We have realized that some of the solutions that we implemented are actually causing a lot of harm environmentally and socially. So we simply need to address the situation. So it's really a collective effort here that is needed. And for me, the key thing to remember is that there is no one single solution. There is no one single way or thing that is going to solve all these challenges. So what is key is more like to do what you can do at your level, to tune into what is your heart calling you to do, because this has to be done from a place of goodwill, from a place of motivation and intrinsic kind of care, and not from a place of like anger or resentment or even panic or fear, because that's just going to drive us more to the more negative feelings. I think that the feelings of despair and frustration are there for a reason. They're there to catalyze action, but it's also important to overcome that and to channel it into a positive feeling of motivation to really move forward. So yeah, that would be what drives me to know that the power is in our hands, and we can really create the world that we wish to live in.
Great. Thank you, Erika. It's very in line with what Benjamin said, but also very interesting to see as well the individual perspective that will also impact the way we act for change. And as you say, if we remain negative, even if we act, but it's against, like it's a reflection of something negative, the impact might not be as positive. So I think that's a very good recommendation as well for the students. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on this. And the next panelist, Jeanne.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. It's a real pleasure. So, yeah, same as the previous speakers, I think we have a lot in common with our thoughts. And actually, by me, it started already at an early age, already in my childhood. I remember in my memories as a kid that when I was watching TV, when I was watching the news, I always felt so bad and sad about the news that were happening, like seeing kids starving or war pictures. And already as a kid, I was really like, yeah, feeling sad, bad about it. But I also was feeling like powerless. I didn't knew how to overcome these informations. And I remember that when I was watching that and not being able to help, it was really like something very difficult for me already as a child. And I was speaking a lot with my parents about it. And I knew that someday I want to do something, but I didn't knew at that point how I'm going to do it. And that was also something, a second thing that I wanted when I was a child. I don't know why. I think it's related with safety. I always wanted to have my own home. So already when I was a teenager, I was dreaming of having my own home when I'm grown up. And I think that in life you really have to cover like 4 basic needs. That our house, having a house, like a place to be, food, clothes, and medicine. And that must be cheap and easy to afford for everybody. And that's what we call civilization. And nowadays, these 4 needs, basic needs, that we should be easily able to achieve are very hard to get for many people. And that's kind of related with a word for me that is uncivilization. And I have sometimes the feeling that now, this era that we live now is one of the most uncivilized era of humanity. And actually my need to be actively involved and show that it's possible to make a difference, even though I was scared of failure and scared of everything, made that I wanted to actually be more involved in sustainability, and what drives actually was my motivation already since I'm a kid and still nowadays, and actually I think for the rest of my life. It's really is part of my personality. And yeah, I want to contribute to a change and show to the people that it's possible to be part of the change, that you are not a drop in the ocean, but that all the drops make actually the ocean.
Thank you. It's a beautiful saying. I like it with the drops and can relate to it. Well, any recommendations for the students right now who want to do the same? Any recommendation for them, Jeanne?
I think that's the good thing tonight with all the possibilities that social media network is giving, is that you can see and you can join really good causes. For example, I'm involved in the Fashion Revolution organization, but you have so many great things happening around you where you can be part of. You can go support crowdfunding projects, you can participate in startup events, you can bring your own ideas or just join some other ideas, you can be part of sustainable projects. There are like every year in Geneva there is a sustainable prize that you can join and bring your idea or just help people out in these communities. So I think the best is just to follow your, as the people said it before, just to follow your heart, like the cause that really drives you, and then we will anyway find a cause that you can support. And also supporting doesn't mean always to be setting up something and to start from scratch and really putting too much effort. But a lot of good causes lack actually visibility. And just by pressing on a button, liking a good cause or sharing the good information, you're already contributing to this kind of making a better world and sharing the knowledge of other people and the work of other people that are already giving all their time in these actions.
Yes, thank you, and yes, this is true. There are different levels, and sometimes we can be discouraged to or changed. What does it mean? Is it starting something from scratch, revolutioning, and it could seem like a lot and be a little bit scary, but as you say, there are different levels. So already starting with easy things that we can do, easy changes can be a good start, and then, well, life will lead maybe to do something bigger. Thank you very much. Very interesting, Jeanne. And well, finally, Zoe, so let me maybe repeat the question. What drives you or has driven you to join a career in sustainability? And well, what would you recommend to students willing to follow a similar path?
Hi, everyone. I can only echo what Benjamin, Erica, and Jan have said in all respects. There certainly is today a momentum in society to change things, and we recognize that we need all actors to participate to find the right solutions and the right path for the future. Now, for me personally, I'd say similar to Jan, the root of my motivation has always been the injustice and inequality I've seen either very close to me, around me, or far away in the world. And a very strong sense that I have an unearned privilege. Just because of where I was born, I didn't have to suffer from hunger, war, or lack of education. And for me, I think that with privilege comes responsibility, and the responsibility leads to contributing to change in one way or another, wherever you are, no matter how small or how big that change can be. And I think that if our path have crossed the Institute, it's because we're all agents of change in some way or another. So I'd say start from where you are. We don't need to be or become Secretary General of the United Nations, although that's a very noble thing to do. But I think change starts often small and is almost invisible. And sometimes it's just about planting a seed rather than starting a revolution. So I'd say my true recommendation in general is more take this change agent mindset with you wherever you are and whatever you do, and don't be afraid of challenging the status quo.
Thank you, Zoe, and well, thank you to all of you for this positive note as well, in spite of the current feelings that one might have with regards to sustainability and the current state of the world. So I will go now to more specific questions to each of you, and I would like to get back to you, Benjamin, to start with. So Benjamin, I understand that you are currently based in Thailand, and well, that you founded your own environment consulting venture on food waste. But I guess you already developed in the first questions, like your what drove you to actually work on food waste. But well, I would like to hear about you from the entrepreneurial perspective. So did you already know when you were at the Institute that you wanted to become an entrepreneur? Is it where did this decision come from? And is it because you wanted to make a change that did not exist, that was lacking? Is it related to some previous experience? I would like to hear you about that, please.
Yeah, no, good question. I'm laughing because no, absolutely not. I never planned to do that, to be an entrepreneur. And I see Karin is laughing because she knows me from the time I was at the Institute. No, I was completely immature. I was I've always been a bit rebel, I kind of always took a pride of not necessarily listening to what I've been told. That's because I'm the youngest of the family as well, I guess. So no, I had no clue. What I knew is that when I finished the Institute, I knew that I knew a lot of things, but I knew nothing at the same time. So and I knew that I didn't want to sit down on a chair in an office in Geneva and wait for things to come my way. So I always had this kind of this urge to travel. I had traveled already quite a lot, but I wanted to really like explore a completely new horizon. So I started learning Mandarin. I went to China to try to acquire the language. Then I really tried thousands of different stuff, including kind of I was meant to sell home cinemas for a startup based in France. So I was meant to be sent to Thailand to sell home cinemas. So that's just to give you an idea. I almost worked for British American Tobacco at some point when I was completely desperate to find anything to get started. I tried the bank, I tried the FMCGs, I tried Caterpillar, I tried, well, everything, and for some good reason, I guess. It didn't work out. So when to learn Mandarin, then I got that opportunity. The opportunity didn't work out. And then my dad said, hey, you can't go to Thailand because this doesn't work. If I pay the ticket, would you go and look for a job there? And I was like, yeah, definitely. So I took 3 weeks. I arrived there. I didn't know anyone. Printed my CV and I did my suits and went door to door to knock on the door of every companies that I was potentially interested in. But check out how big a challenge it is when you go and discuss to an HR director and they ask you, what do you want to do? And you're like, well, I don't know, tell me. But luckily in that discussion, I managed to not that subtly kind of kill my father. I was working with my father that is distributing agrochemicals. And during the conversation, even though I really didn't feel I was passionate about sustainability, I mentioned, well, I'm feeling a bit more like eco-friendly. And the guy was like, oh, that's interesting. There was a position that just opened, and that's how I got started. He put me in charge of a certification program for all the Novotels in Asia. So suddenly I was in charge of helping 45 Novotel properties to achieve a very high standard on sustainability, even though I had no knowledge of environment, hotels, or certification. So that was really like the big jump into that new world. That's 2008. And even at that time, it started to grow, but I was not really like as convinced well miles away from where I am now. And then I quit. I did some other jobs because I thought, okay, this is a dead end. This is boring. I've been a waiter. I've been selling like perfumes in shopping malls. I've been driving push bike taxis, all sort of stuff, experiencing hardship, but at the same time, giving yourself time to really think what you want to do. And ultimately, again, I randomly ended up again in Thailand and in a conference meeting someone that said, hey, there is a position at the UN as a consultant on greening the hotel industry. And I was like, well, I thought that was behind me. I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And by doing that, by doing this experience, which was more like 360 sort of certification, well, 360 approach to sustainability, energy, water, waste, chemicals, local communities, staff awareness, guest engagement. Then I started to realize, shit, there is nothing happening on food waste, and that's 2013. And I'm looking at those bins full of food, and I'm asking stupid questions to the professional of the industry. I'm like, guys, how many kilos is in that bin, and what is it, and where is it coming from, and why, and how much does it cost you? You know, stupid question from a non-industry professional that they really couldn't answer, and that's how it got started. And then this whole sustainability, I would say, sense of responsibility, because to me, it all boils down to one thing is, do you want to take responsibility, or do you want to just like get on that boat and go with the flow and pretend that you have no grasp or no grip on the reality around you? And that's how it all got started, and it keeps on growing. I mean, I am so much more involved and sometimes even more extreme than I was when I started. And now I know that there is no way I can go back to any conventional sort of job anymore. That's way not possible.
Wow, thank you. That is fascinating, and it relates to, well, I would say 2 things that we also tell our students when it comes to career. The first one is, well, it's an exploration, and sometimes just trying a path leads you exactly where you have to be, either because of like a failure, or you realize actually this is not what you wanted, or you meet people on the way, and well, the idea is to start. And I think your experience is fascinating because it was a long process, but and you tried many different things. And sometimes it wasn't so successful, especially at the start, but still it led you where you are. That is really interesting. And secondly, also, you mentioned that, yeah, you were going door to door to actually find something to do. And this also, I think this is important to remind students that, yes, networking, being brave, getting out there, becoming visible is a way that works when you are looking for a job. And yes, looking for what exists is good, but sometimes you need to do this extra mile as well, and it opens some doors. So thank you very much for sharing this opportunity, this testimony, this experience. And I have a related question to the other entrepreneur that we have in the room. Jeanne, because you also have a big experience before you actually started to create your own venture in the industry of sustainable fashion. You worked for 10 years in the private sector in some big organizations. So I would like to ask about your exploration as well. Well, what drove your transition, and how have your skills and experiences maybe in the private sector helped you to achieve this transition? I think it would be interesting to hear your perspective on this as well.
Yes, so I think also my experience was more also a lot of like exploring and trying out things. I remember that when I was a student, I was also traveling a lot, mostly in Latin America, South America, and Africa, and then I did some volunteering. And the first time I actually went back, so I'm half Vietnamese, that's why my project is based in Vietnam. And the first time I went back in Vietnam was in 2006, where I really discovered the other parts of my roots. And I saw like the whole potential of the people there, the handcrafted items, they were so skilled. And I already at that time, during this first travel, when I went really through whole Vietnam during 1 month, I was starting in the north and then going down to Ho Chi Minh. And I was seeing all these different regions and how the craftsmanship is just amazing there. But I was too scared actually to start something. I was like, I come from a very Cartesian family where you have like those stereotypes jobs, and like everything that was related with creativity or art was a bit like, you can do this in your spare time, but like as a hobby, but not as your main job. And so I was like, okay, so let's do like a regular job. So I needed actually to have still something in relation with creativity. So that's why I chose marketing and branding. But I was kind of in like a train in the trails, you're gonna work and so on. But I didn't really feel happy about how it was going. And I was actually lacking of this place where I can spread out my creativity and where I can feel that I contribute to a bigger cause than just being like a little chain in a little piece in the whole chain of a big corporation. And so actually it all started with a friend asking me to join her in Vietnam to start a swimsuit collection for her. She wanted actually to launch her own brand. And she knew that I was good in sewing and that I knew Vietnam, so she asked me to join her. And the fact that I joined her was for me like, a real pleasure. And also it was like not as like towards my own feelings, like when you help somebody else, for me it was always easier to help the others than to start my own projects, because I was like too heavily engaged in my emotions. So I wasn't feeling capable of starting something on my own. But helping others, no issue. And so I joined her, and we started to look around how we can start this collection. And actually, it was quite difficult because in Vietnam, you have not, they don't have the fabrics, like everything that is related with lycra, and which is like this kind of specific swimsuit fabric. They don't have it, and also they don't have the machines to sew it. And so actually, I was always waiting for her until she decides on the next steps. And in that time, So around 2012, a lot of Chinese factories were getting, actually they were getting too expensive, and so they were locating all their fast fashion industry in Southeast Asia. And that's why a lot of artisans in Vietnam were also not doing their own family business anymore, but working in factories. And they were, so as we were exchanging with them, they were telling how hard it was working in those factories, how it was like, yeah, not at all ethical conditions to live in, how they had to work 7 days a week with crazy hours, and this all had a big impact on me, and I wanted to show that it's possible to actually first of all overcome the whole fabric waste that is engaged in the whole fast fashion industry, because I was seeing a lot of big stock areas where like tons of fabrics were thrown away in big kind of malls, and that was the first thing I was like kind of impressed, because I had really to walk on all the fabrics in these big holes and try to search like the fabrics I liked and take them out, and they were either all destroyed or were staying there forever. And so I wanted to do something with the artisans and show how skilled they are and reduce the fabric waste. So that's why I launched actually my first collection in 2012 and brought it back in Switzerland. And I can say that actually the private sector helped me in knowing that I needed to have something else beside my regular job to, like a cause where I can really put my heart in. So actually my project was really a hard project where I wanted to make a difference and help people. But it also helped me to get organized and really work on the marketing and communication of my own project. I think that I was too scared to start everything from scratch and just live out of my project at the first phase. So that's why I balanced always both. So I was always working and doing my side project at the same time. Also because I didn't want to that my costs rely on the project. I wanted to give like all the funds that we get with this project back to the artisans and really increase the network of the artisans and the collaborations. That's why, it took me a long time to jump into the project like 100%.
Okay, that's also very interesting. Thank you, Jan. So a long exploration as well. So exploration is not something quick, but it's something that is earned with experience and by meeting the right people. And maybe we can highlight that it was not until you actually went to Vietnam that you could have had all of these ideas and realized everything that was actually going wrong. So I think that's also maybe a good message for students. Get out there, because this is how you will explore and realize maybe what is missing, what should be done differently. And it's very interesting that the private sector was actually a motivational factor. That the transition took some time, but it is because something was lacking that you had the motivation to do something different on a side first before it became your main activity. Thank you. That's very interesting. I would like to focus now for the other questions on going back to being a student. Erika, maybe you can tell us more about your time at the institute, and how did it help you start a career in sustainability? Maybe in the course selections, in the people you met, in some events. Did you know you wanted a career in sustainability before going at the institute, and how did it help you achieve your objective?
Thank you for the question. So I already knew prior to going to the institute that I wanted to focus on sustainable development and sustainability. And actually, when you want to go somewhere where you have an objective or a vision, even though it seems very very far away and even like unattainable, or like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that. The key for me is like, start doing it now. Even if you don't know exactly how, even if you're not too sure where to go, like there's always ways to start doing it now. And it's by starting to do it that you will gain the experience. So for me, that was the environmental committee. So I felt that I wanted to get some practical experience alongside my courses. And I was also involved in my bachelor's degree in a lot of student initiatives. And I felt that they had really a great impact on campus in terms of raising awareness and realizing also action. So I got involved in the environmental committee, and we did some pretty good actions with hosting like a Sustainability 101 workshop, with talking to the cafeteria to ensure that there was more vegetarian options for lunch and for food, and also talking with different departments of the institute to include sustainability concerns much more in the center of student life and also of the curriculums. So I was active in the environmental committee, and that just kind of further nourished my drive and my interest. And that's also something that is very, very valuable for employers when you start looking for a job after your studies. Like, if you show that you have done something beyond what was the basic requirement, it shows basically that you're willing to go the extra mile for that. And the other point that I think is really important to acknowledge is that, like, the society as it exists now, like, it was not built to be sustainable, because as I was saying before, like, we did not have that awareness before, that, you know, we lived on a finite planet with limited resources. Of course, this awareness came in the 1970s, but until it's really implemented all the systems, it takes a long time. So that means that you have to be aware that you're swimming against the current. And by swimming against the current, it's really important that you bring your own individuality into that place. Like, it's important that you look at the labor market after you graduate not as something like, oh, where am I going to fit in? Where can I find something that that is going to give me a meaningful job that is related to the environment, but the other way around. Like, what can I bring? How can I change the structures that are existing in order to bring that sustainability awareness in that aspect? Because they're not going to be, like I'm telling you right now, they're not going to be naturally like that. Like, it takes some time for society to adapt to the reality, and even for structures, because it's very complex and interrelated. So the way to change is really like from inside out, not from outside in. So really, like, bring your individuality. That's what I try to do, and also be okay with not knowing, like, not having full certainty on everything. Like, that's just a new kind of normal. It's like not being sure of everything, but the capacity to be able to navigate that complexity and move forward, even with so many unknown variables, is like a really, really necessary skill to have. And little by little, you will, like, I found little by little more clarity on what was my contribution and what was I meant to be bringing into the system to make it more sustainable.
Well, thank you, Erica. Very powerful words. I have to thank you, because there is a daily vegetarian meal at the cafeteria. And if it's because of you that I can eat at lunch vegetarian, thank you, because it is something really, really nice that they're doing now at the Institute. But also, let me insist on what you said, inside out. As a career advisor, I hear all the time students asking me, well, I'm interested in this field. What are the career options? What should I do? This is my background. What should I do? As if it's actually the profile that matches the opportunity, but everything is the opposite way around, as you said. And thank you for emphasizing this. What I tell students and what I would like to repeat now is, well, there is no career path for your whatever background you have. You should look at inside of you. What do you want? Who you are? What are your values? What do you aspire? And then you build your career with regards to that. There is no right path, no good path. It's an individual decision and an individual journey. So thank you very much to echo like this. I think it is very important for students to also be aware of that. All right, so my next question is for Zoe. And well, also Zoe, well, you are still working in, well, I hate that word, but corporate social responsibility or sustainability, but in the private sector, in big organizations. This is quite a niche sector as well. You don't really see so often job offers in that field. So my question is, and going back to being a recently graduated student, well, can you tell us whether it was easy to find a job in this field right after graduation? If you did anything maybe during your studies to help you secure a position after graduation in this niche field?
Thank you for the question. I think my story is probably a bit different from the others, just because I was very lucky. And thanks to the career service from the Institute, I had a long-term employment contract before ending the master degrees. Like so many, I was looking for an internship for the summer break between the first and second year of the masters, and I absolutely wanted to take an internship with either an international organization, the UN, or an embassy around the world somewhere. Something I didn't find, but through the career service, there was a job offering at a firm for a fixed position, a part-time job, 50%, to assist the VP corporate social responsibility at the time in an energy company. And I went for the interview, thought, you know, why not give it a try? It's really not what I was looking for, but there's nothing else just now on the radar. And it turned out that I got the job, and then I was like, okay, well, I still have a year in my master's to do. 50% half job is a lot to take on, but I thought it's probably worth it. It's worth the professional experience, and I made the choice to kind of sacrifice my social student life for the second year. But then I got rewarded by not having to look for a job at the end of the master's degrees, and I got a full-time position with that company. I think I'm very grateful and happy how I got there. It has less merit than all the others who had to do so many steps to find what they do now. But I think what's more interesting is that I ended up doing something that it was really far away from what I had imagined. Like, I'd never thought I would end up in the energy sector. Like, never. For me, it was the UN, the good, and then there's the rest, right? But I gave it a try, and while being there, I discovered that that field is not only unknown, but also very interesting once you're in there, and that it is a matter of fact today that we still need fossil fuels, unfortunately. So we rather extract them in a responsible way, and we work for companies who try to do the right things. So it's more about the how you do things. We acknowledge oil and gas and coal and are all dirty fossil fuels that we don't want to have anymore, just today and in the near-term future. There are alternatives, but we cannot exclude them to 100%. So we need to make it work kind of the most sustainable possible way. And I think what I've seen with my experience was that the door I wished to be open remained closed, but there was a window of opportunity, and I took that. So sometimes maybe we need to be, as students, and flexible in what we want and what we aspire to, and just try out something that's maybe not what we thought. And I hear that from other experiences on the panel today as well. And so for me, I since stayed there because it was interesting, challenging, evolving. The societal expectations have changed a lot in the past 10 years, also in that sector. It's now an industry that's undergoing an immense stress, and rightly so. We need to find new models and new ways of doing things, and it's good that there's this pressure. And for myself, it's just the beginning somehow. I'm still in my first career, so saying I think life will lead me somewhere else after that. I take it as a learning experience. I got into that industry, into that job, and I take every experience I can get, and from there we'll see.
Yes, thank you. So going back to exploring, I think you were very brave to decide to explore something that was completely different. And it's also a good message for students who are listening to us today. Don't get stubborn on one idea. Well, sometimes it is good because this is how you create change and maybe your own path. But sometimes, and I keep repeating this, opportunities that are unexpected arise, and it's also it requires some courage to remain open to these and to explore. It can be okay, not worth it, but it can be sometimes worth it, like in the case of Zoe. And also, I like it, Zoe, when you say it's just the beginning. So even though you've had few years of experience there, it's not an end in itself. And well, you will see where life takes you. Yes, thank you for all of your experiences. Thank you for sharing them. I think we have like a few minutes now left for Q&A. So I will leave the floor to Karine if we have any questions for the panel from the students.
Yes, I have some questions. So please send your question in the chat, as the Q&A doesn't seem to work really well. So I have a question here from Victoria to all the panelists, but especially for Jeanne, as Victoria is interested in slow fashion. The question is in terms of skills. What key skill would you suggest to practice to be able to pursue a successful career in sustainability or related work?
So that's a tough question, but but I'm happy to share my experience. I think the only really so how I want to picture it, I mean, you can have a lot of different skills, but for me the biggest skill is just to not see like that you have to overcome hurdles by just trying. Actually, that's what I want to say. It's that you can have as many skills as you want. If you are too afraid or if you are too scared to try it out, then all the skills that you have will not help you. But if you just think, okay, let's give it a try. I'm gonna learn on the way of how I'm gonna of doing it. I mean, I'm gonna learn by doing things. Then you have you don't have any hurdles or like all the hurdles in your life will actually pass by, because actually what I think sometimes in our culture, like especially the Swiss culture, people are always afraid to not be able to achieve something, or they're afraid of I don't know how you say this in English, échec. They're afraid of failure. And our society also explains you that, oh, if you fail, then it's terrible. But they don't highlight actually the whole past that you're having while experiencing and trying things out. I mean, everything that you try out will give you an additional experience in life that you can afterwards use for other or for multiple projects. And that's the thing that actually I found is the most important, is that you don't have to be afraid of failure, as somehow our culture sometimes tells it, which I see that is less the case in some English cultures, where they highlight much more the path towards any project, and actually the failure is part of the past. If you never fail, you're not going to learn from it. So I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned so far, and that I want to share with you, is that, yeah, just try things out, don't be afraid of the failure, and that's actually how you can, yeah, help and lead a more sustainable world.
Thank you, Jeanne. Is there someone who wants to add something to what Jeanne just said, Benjamin, in terms of entrepreneurship, or Erika, Zoe, who wants to take the lead on that?
To me, it just one word: resilience. Don't expect. I mean, don't expect to. If you go for something, it's very similar to what Jeanne just said. But I hit so many walls. I've been slapped in the face so badly that if I didn't have resilience as one of the key strengths, all the rest is BS, is going down the drain, because then you will stop and you will do something else. But if you are so determined that nothing can bring you down, then you will succeed eventually. It took me 7 years to really kind of reach a level where now things are flowing much more easily. And then COVID hit. So, there's just enough to cry and go back to bed and get wasted instead of going to work. But no, then you decide that, okay, what can you do now given the circumstances? And then you pivot, and then you constantly rethink your model and make new decisions. So resilience is, to me, the key aspect.
Okay, thank you. Erika or Zoe, do you have a word to add to this?
I would add to resilience also curiosity. I think it's so important that we stay curious and engage in everything that's around us, and not to be too narrow in our daily life or thinking. But also, I think building relationships of trust over the long term. We need our support group, and we need to give support to people. And while there's this trend of networking, it's not about collecting email addresses. It's about building real relationships, whether it's just an acquaintance or family member or friends. We need that support that we can turn to when shit hits the fan, kind of.
Yeah, and I would just bounce back on the learning by doing. Really important before open up answer. We need to intellectual foundation, and afterwards
Thank you, Erika. I think we have a little problem with your speaker, or am I the only one? I have another question from...
Sorry, I just wanted to add something else that actually popped in my mind.
Yeah,
I wanted also to add, don't be afraid to ask for help. This was also something I really had issues to deal with. And even sometimes people, they don't answer you, or you have to ask multiple times. Really, that's something I learned is really important, is don't be afraid to ask, even if it's once or twice or 3 times. Because people, they all have their lives, they're already trying to keep up with their things, but that doesn't mean they don't want to help you. It's just that sometimes you need to knock more than one time at the door, and people will always be willing to help you. And that's really can be a game changer.
It's true. Thank you. Well, we can go a bit further as we started a bit late. I have another question here from Pratija about COVID, as we just spoke about it. How do you think it will, or it has impacted social entrepreneurship so far, and what, in your opinion, will it look like in a post-pandemic world? Maybe Jeanne and Benjamin, but I mean, if Erika and Zoe, you want to answer also. Jeanne, as you have the floor, you want to start, or?
So actually, yeah, for us, it hit really badly. I mean, Vietnam is in kind of lockdown since the pandemic started. So actually I'm not able to go there, and all my orders are still on hold since like nearly a year. So actually it's a really big challenge, but it's also it also brings other solutions, or it makes you think about all the solutions that you have to bring. So it raises up also creativity. For example, in my sector, with my label, I was mostly focused on clothing and not so much on accessories. And actually the fact that COVID hit in, I had to think about new ways to help the artisans and bring money in for the label and to maintain the label. So I developed much more accessories that I wouldn't maybe haven't done if I didn't have this bad experience with COVID, because actually all the artisans, they still for now have to keep all their family shops closed. So in Vietnam, they cannot work anymore. So they really rely totally on the label for their incomes. And also, if I go there, I don't exactly know what's going to happen to me. So actually, that's why I'm not going for now, because if you go there, you have to stay first during 2 weeks in military camps. And then they decide if they keep you or if they bring you back to your home country. And yeah, I mean, it's quite a difficult situation, but I think we don't know what's going to happen afterwards. I think from now on, our life anyway changed, because we never experienced this pandemic before, this kind of pandemic before. And I think we have to go back to a more simple life, all of us, because the privilege we had on this continent is not the privilege that other people have on other continents. And even in our countries, a lot of people are poor on lack of the minimum. And we are privileged and don't see it in our daily lives and in our daily life of being, and how we interact with the people. We don't see, because it's also hidden. A lot of people are ashamed of being poor or not being able to contribute to their families with the minimum. And so I think we need to really leverage all our voices to break those taboos and be more of a community for everybody, even for your neighbors. Do you know if your neighbors are do they need help? Are they struggling? And I mean, we don't know actually the people that are living in the same houses than we do. And I think we need to go back to this kind of more human interactions where we care for the others. And I think that the simplicity and being just grateful for what we have and try to help others will make that we can overcome this kind of pandemic and this kind of situation that we are living right now.
If I may take the floor, because after I will have to leave very shortly, I just wanted to say that so social and enterprise is I think the most responsive way that we can use actually to respond to the crisis. I think the current pandemic is of course a crisis, but with every crisis it comes with opportunities, because the world is changing. Like, the world will never be the same as before, and that means that there's a big void being created for new models and new systems. So now is really the moment to build them in order to create the world of tomorrow. So I want to share a little personal anecdote with this. When the first confinement hit back in March, we were, myself and two other colleagues, we witnessed from one day to the next, everything that is involving delivery is like tripling, like food delivery, everything, online shops, and everything that involves being delivered your products at home is rapidly increasing and is needed because people cannot leave their house. And we said, like, how can this be leveraged so that instead of provoking even more overconsumption and consumption of things that generate a lot of waste, a lot of plastic, it can have the opposite effect. It can create more people consuming smart, consuming sustainable products, consuming things not generating waste. And so we came up with an idea of a platform that would link together all the zero waste shops in Lausanne, because it's where I live, and we would can go online and purchase zero waste products and have them delivered in their house, and at the same time get visibility of all the different little small shops that are already doing great efforts to advance the zero waste movement. So that's how we created EasyVrac and easyvrac.ch. And now it's kind of the entrepreneurial project that I'm doing alongside my job at the Impact Hub. So this is really an example of how we can use this current crisis to actually build the foundations of the new system.
Thank you, Erika. Thank you. Benjamin or Zoe, would you like to add something to this?
Well, Sam, there are two. I think there are two sides. It seems that if we look at entrepreneurship and the I would say the love-hatred relationship with investors, it's amazing how investors have shifted towards more like responsible investment. Well, a lot of them that are disguised into impact investors, that's for sure. But still, there is an appetite that is growing and that will keep on growing for solutions that are both, hitting two birds with one stone, being profitable yet addressing some pressing global issues. So, word I would say for entrepreneurs, it's a bit linked to what just been said. Is there is room and there is need. So it's definitely still a good time. The COVID is disrupting. But yeah, in any disruption, there are as well opportunities for us very quickly. 90% of our business got shut almost from 1 week to the next in March, and that was devastating. But the reaction was like, okay, let's step back for a second, and we pivoted in about a month and a half time. I put all my team into one clear laser focus, being education, and we succeeded in completely turning around our business, and actually it grew in a way that would have never grown before, because now we are able to deliver to customers anywhere in the world. So yeah, there are opportunities, and I think there are much more opportunities now than there were even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that on my side as well, COVID felt like an accelerator for sustainability. When COVID first hit, I think at least many industries, and ours included, were struggling with economic survival, and so it was heads down and how to survive. And the question arose from the more critical or conservatives in the industry or in business is, would anyone care about climate change during COVID, for instance? After the first lockdown or the first wave, there was such a spike in interest and investor pressure on climate change that I think it really has accelerated the change, the pressure, the general acceptance that this needs to be dealt with. And I can say that even internally, the buy-in I got this year is unprecedented, from on the field staff to the board, and I think we would have got there anyways, but maybe in a year or 2 or 3. But this year has changed a lot.
Thank you, Zoe. I have another question for you, but I don't think we will have time. Sorry, Monali. As I have the floor, I take the opportunity to, of course, thank all of you. If you have some Christmas gift to do and you want to buy local, please go and see Jeanne's site, which is APESIGNED. I'll send it to you after. So APESIGNED. And there you will find some accessories for Christmas and many other things, dresses and things. So if you want to buy local this year, I think this is the good opportunity. If you want to see Ben's faces, you can check yesterday's news, which was on his company. Hopefully, the environmental committee will have a workshop with him in March or April. So hopefully we'll do that. I also congratulate you because of the partnership with ESSEC. And so I will try to jump on this as our new directors come from ESSEC.
Nice.
And so I just want to thank all of you, remind you that we have 20,000 alumni around the world that can give you a hand, care about your career and help you. We have 40 chapters and 20 ambassadors, and Clémentine, who is working with us, is focused on them. That's it for me. Merry Christmas to all of you. Zani, I give you the floor, and thanks to all of you. Thank you.
That's it. You couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. And I just wanted to show everyone one of Jeanne's beautiful masks. So you can go on Aid Signed, and like Karine said about Benjamin, she's looking for her mask. Looking forward for collaborations and with Erica and Zoe as well, if possible. So Inspire Students will start again in February. Thank you for joining, everyone. So yeah, happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for hosting us.
Bye.
Much love and stay safe.
Yes.
Merry
You too.
Christmas.